privilege to bear during so much of my life and duty.
Silence descended over the grand hall as Princess Anne stepped forward, her gaze unwavering and her voice measured yet charged with emotion. All eyes locked onto Prince William, his stoic façade crumbling as he braced. In that suspended moment, Anne reveals the king's final wish, an intimate directive that stunned the family and sent ripples through the realm. William's shoulders shook, and tears threatened to spill as the weight of history pressed upon him. So what could be so powerful to crack a future monarch's heart? Buckle up, as what comes next will shock you. The quiet force behind the crown. Few moments in royal history demand attention like the one that just unfolded, but to truly understand its weight, one must look at the figure who's never chased a headline yet commands quiet respect, Princess Anne. Born in 1950 to Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Anne entered a life of tradition and public duty. But unlike her siblings, she never craved the spotlight. From a young age, she rejected the fairy tale princess image and chose a life defined by service, not ceremony. While royal engagements became stages for others, Anne treated them as obligations, serious, consistent, and purposeful. She wasn't there to charm crowds or smile for cameras. She was there to get the work done. With a schedule that has consistently outpaced other royals, she's spent decades building deep connections with charitable organizations, many of which she continues to serve without seeking credit or applause. Her legacy hasn't been built on glamour. It's been carved through relentless commitment. Her determination stretched far beyond royal duties. In 1976, she became the first British royal to compete in the Olympics, representing the United Kingdom in equestrian eventing in Montreal. It wasn't just a symbolic gesture. Anne trained, qualified, and performed like any other athlete. She didn't win a medal, but what she achieved was far more enduring, proof that hard work, not heritage, defines success. Throughout changing tides in the monarchy, Anne has remained its steadiest figure. When scandals stirred headlines and popularity polls swayed public opinion, she stayed focused. Her loyalty to the crown has never wavered. Not for attention, not for power. She's the quiet force who never stopped showing up, whose sense of duty often overshadowed personal comfort. While others embraced royal privilege, Anne chose responsibility. She has long stood apart from palace drama, but make no mistake, her influence runs deep. She's known for speaking plainly behind closed doors and earning the trust of those who value substance over show. And now, in a moment when the royal family finds itself on fragile ground, it's Anne's quiet authority that's being felt the most. As tensions rise and decisions are made behind palace walls, her role, often understated, has become impossible to overlook. But what silent force now stands between the king and collapse, and what role will Anne truly play? The crown was never light. If Princess Anne's quiet strength had begun to take center stage, it was only because the man now wearing the crown found himself facing more than just royal duty. He was facing the battle of his life. For decades, Charles had been the monarch in waiting, the longest-serving heir in British history. His path to the throne had not been paved with ease, but rather shaped by years of intense public scrutiny, fractured relationships, and a relentless effort to find purpose under the shadow of a mother whose reign spanned 70 years. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in September 2022, the world mourned a matriarch, and Charles finally became king. But the moment, long expected, came with a heaviness no amount of preparation could have lightened. He inherited a monarchy in flux, a public wary of change, a commonwealth questioning its allegiance, and a royal family frayed by internal divisions. Rather than stepping seamlessly into his new role, Charles found himself juggling grief, expectation, and the impossible task of redefining the monarchy while honoring its traditions. His early vision for a slimmed-down royal family sparked immediate debate. Charles, aware of changing times and shifting public sentiment, wanted to modernize the institution, reduce its cost, streamline its image, and focus on a core group of working royals. But tradition, for better or worse, was deeply rooted. Many questioned whether scaling back the monarchy might not weaken it altogether. Would fewer royals mean less presence, less connection to the people? Charles had hoped to project efficiency and purpose. Instead, he ignited uncertainty. Yet the public challenge was only part of the struggle. In 2023, behind palace doors, came a far more personal revelation. King Charles had been diagnosed with cancer. Though details were closely guarded, the news broke through the royal facade like a thunderclap. The king tried to carry on, keeping up appearances at state functions and official events, but those close to him saw the toll. He appeared paler, thinner, and often more withdrawn. His once determined stride had become slower. The weight of the crown, once symbolic, had become deeply real. By early 2024, Charles began to step back. Discreetly, then more noticeably, he leaned on the most steadfast members of the family: Princess Anne, ever diligent, Prince William, his heir, and Catherine, who had grown into her role with quiet poise. They took on more engagements, represented the monarchy abroad, and filled the void that Charles, though still present, could no longer carry alone. It was a soft transfer of responsibility, an unspoken acknowledgement that time and health were no longer on the king's side. Public appearances were fewer, his speeches shorter, his gaze often reflective. This was not the portrait of a king newly crowned, ready to redefine an era. This was a man confronting his limits, his legacy, and his mortality. The image of Charles standing tall before the nation had slowly given way to one of reliance on duty, on family, and most of all, on Anne, whose unwavering support never faltered. She became not only the monarchy's workhorse, but the one person Charles could trust as the walls of tradition closed in around him. And just beneath the surface of this shifting power stood one final decision, a private wish from a monarch no longer certain he could endure the weight of the role alone. Whispers, in Sandringham, the king's quiet wish. Just as murmurs of shifting power began to ripple through royal circles, a notable absence at a key family gathering deepened the silence surrounding King Charles, until it was gently broken by the one voice the monarchy had long trusted to speak with clarity and purpose. Princess Anne, often called the monarchy's anchor, stepped forward in a way only she could, without fanfare, without flourish, but with a calm weight that immediately silenced the room. For years, Anne had kept herself at the heart of royal service, far removed from the headlines. Her work ethic was unmatched. Hundreds of appearances each year, executed with precision and purpose. She never needed applause, only the quiet knowledge that duty was being upheld. It was this lifelong commitment that gave her the authority to speak when others hesitated. And in early 2025, at a private gathering held in Sandringham and attended by senior royals including William and Catherine, it became clear why Anne was still regarded as the family's guiding force. Charles, weakened by illness and retreating from public life, had entrusted Anne with a message, a wish not about his own legacy, but about the future of the monarchy. With the king too unwell to be present, Anne stood in his place, her voice steady, her words careful. What she revealed carried the weight of two reigns, a sentiment once shared in quiet confidence by Queen Elizabeth II, and later echoed by Charles himself. Both monarchs, she said, had placed their hope not only in William, the heir to the throne, but in Catherine. They saw in her something rare, a strength that didn't demand the spotlight, but instead thrived in quiet consistency. Elizabeth had remarked on it years before, observing Catherine's grace and unshakable poise amid a life that often devours those who enter it. Charles, in more recent conversations with Anne, had repeated those words with even more urgency. He believed Catherine wasn't just the future queen consort, she was the steady hand that would one day help steer the crown itself. The effect in the room was immediate. William, long caught between family loyalty, public expectation, and the constant scrutiny of his every move, looked visibly shaken, not out of surprise, but from the deep affirmation those words brought. He had always drawn strength from Catherine privately. Now he heard that same faith declared by his father and aunt, those who had weathered storms from within the monarchy's highest ranks. Anne's message wasn't dramatic, but its impact couldn't be ignored. Catherine, always steady, always composed, had become the quiet center of a family in transition. She had held firm while others faltered, not chasing influence, but earning trust through her silence, her resilience, and her unwavering dedication. As Anne finished speaking, the room didn't erupt. It simply shifted. There, among the future of the crown, a deeper truth settled. The king's last wish wasn't just a message, but a signpost pointing to who would carry them forward. But what unspoken power does Catherine now hold? And why did her quiet strength shake even William? Stay tuned. The becoming of Catherine, more than a consort. As the weight of Anne's words echoed quietly through the halls of Sandringham, attention began to shift, not to tradition or rank, but to the woman who had quietly earned her place at the center of it all. Long before royal titles entered her life, Catherine Elizabeth Middleton's journey began in the Green Hills of Berkshire, where she was born on January 9, 1982. Her upbringing was ordinary in appearance, but rooted in deep intention. Michael and Carol Middleton, though not born into nobility, were determined to create opportunities for their children. They taught by example, valuing dedication over display, patience over privilege. Catherine, the eldest of three, absorbed these lessons fully. Her early education at Marlborough College revealed a young woman marked by composure and kindness, someone who stood out not for ambition, but for reliability. She was bright, but it was her ability to make others feel seen that left a lasting impression. It was at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland that the path of her life shifted dramatically. In the shared anonymity of lecture halls and quiet cafes, Catherine and Prince William formed a bond that would later withstand the relentless glare of the global spotlight. Their connection began in the most unroyal way, through friendship, study, shared silence, and laughter. While the world saw the prince, Catherine saw the man behind the title. And in moments when William felt the crushing pressure of legacy and loss, it was she who gave him quiet reassurance rather than demands. By the time William proposed during a private trip to Kenya in 2010, Catherine was already deeply woven into his life. The sapphire engagement ring, once worn by Princess Diana, spoke not only of history, but of expectation. When they married at Westminster Abbey in April 2011, it was a spectacle watched by millions. But the real test came afterward, in the quiet corners of royal life. Unlike many drawn to the spotlight, Catherine approached her new role with restraint. She didn't reinvent herself for the cameras. Instead, she listened, learned, and remained firmly rooted in the values that had shaped her from the beginning. While many sought headlines, Catherine focused on work that reflected her instincts: early childhood, family mental health, and education. Her projects weren't designed for fleeting applause. They were built for lasting change. Slowly, and without insistence, she began shaping her own place within the royal institution. Even Queen Elizabeth II, famously private and slow to offer public approval, quietly welcomed Catherine into inner circles. The late Queen had once told those close to her that Catherine had the patience and presence required for the life she had stepped into. Now, with King Charles retreating from duties, Catherine is no longer simply accompanying William. She is standing beside him in every strategic sense. Far from the ceremonial smiles and curated appearances, her voice carries influence behind closed doors. Titles may one day change, but what she brings to the monarchy already runs deeper than crowns. The silent thread, Catherine and Anne's unseen alliance. As Catherine steadily assumed greater influence within the palace walls, another force had already been quietly moving alongside her, one forged not in blood, but in a rare and unspoken alignment of values. While the public's attention remained fixed on the king's shifting role, behind the formality of royal engagements, a quiet partnership was forming between the oldest daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and the woman now seen as the monarchy's future. Princess Anne and Princess Catherine, though separated by decades and shaped by different times, share something that has become increasingly rare within the institution: an unwavering commitment to duty, born not of performance, but of purpose. Anne has long been the monarchy's anchor, respected not for pageantry but for endurance. For over 50 years, she has moved through engagements with a sharp efficiency and a no-nonsense attitude that few dare question. She never chased headlines, yet her name remains synonymous with service. She kept going when others stumbled, never asking for applause. That kind of legacy doesn't need words. It's carved quietly into the structure of the crown itself. Catherine, by contrast, came into royal life with the eyes of the world upon her, but what she chose to do was unexpected. Rather than rush into prominence, she watched, listened, and slowly built a presence rooted in emotional intelligence and careful deliberation. Her focus on early childhood, mental health, and family well-being was not simply charitable. It was strategic, forward-looking, designed to strengthen the social threads that hold the kingdom together. Over time, her soft-spoken manner revealed something deeper, a kind of steel veiled in warmth. Though their personalities differ, Anne brisk and direct, Catherine graceful and composed, they share an understanding that true leadership often goes unnoticed. Both women navigate their roles with precision and restraint, rarely needing speeches to make their impact known. In fact, those close to the palace speak of how their relationship has grown behind closed doors. Anne, often guarded and slow to offer personal praise, has come to view Catherine with quiet admiration, not just as her nephew's wife, but as a woman with the rare temperament to carry forward the institution itself. In private, they speak plainly. Anne offers experience honed over decades. Catherine listens with the kind of intent that signals both humility and resolve. What began as mutual respect has grown into something far more powerful. A shared rhythm, visible in their synchronized presence at key engagements, where their gestures echo one another in subtle but unmistakable ways. There's no need for performance between them. Their bond exists in the margins, in the side glances, in the deliberate silences, in the way they anchor a room with minimal movement. As the monarchy enters an era defined by change, media noise, and the growing weight of public expectation, the real power within its walls often passes unnoticed. And in that stillness, Anne and Catherine stand side by side, not loud, not seeking praise, but holding the line. Catherine's quietest battle. And while Princess Anne's seasoned discipline remained a steady guidepost within the royal circle, Catherine's own path took a sudden turn, one that tested her spirit in a way no royal duty ever could. In early 2024, Catherine, so often the quiet center of the storm, stepped back from the public gaze. The palace first cited a planned abdominal surgery, and many expected her return would be swift. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the silence surrounding her absence grew louder. Public appearances were cancelled. William, too, began stepping away from scheduled engagements. There were no fresh photographs, no statements beyond formal updates, and the unease across the nation grew palpable. Then came March 22nd. In a video message recorded from a wooden bench in Windsor's stillness, Catherine finally spoke. Dressed simply, her hands folded in her lap, she addressed the world with composure that felt both familiar and entirely transformed. Her words were careful, calm, and heavy with emotion. She had been diagnosed with cancer and was undergoing preventive chemotherapy. It wasn't just a royal revelation, it was a deeply human moment. The gentle smile she offered was unmistakably hers, but behind her eyes was a new weight, a vulnerability she had never publicly shared. It was not a performance. There was no pomp, no palace backdrop. Just a woman, a mother, a wife, confronting an unexpected battle with grace that resonated far beyond the United Kingdom. The video didn't just inform, it moved. It made the Duchess of Cambridge suddenly relatable to millions facing their own struggles, making her strength all the more inspiring. Behind the scenes, Prince William stood firmly at her side. Shaped by the trauma of losing his mother so publicly, he now faced a different kind of pressure, shielding his wife and children from that same glare. He became her quiet protector, managing royal duties while anchoring their young family, George, Charlotte, and Louis, through uncertainty. Even in retreat, Catherine's influence didn't wane. Her absence spoke louder than words, reminding the world that real courage doesn't always wear a crown. It sometimes wears a hospital gown and a steady, unwavering smile. Those close to her say she remains connected to her causes, especially childhood development and mental health, finding purpose even in her most fragile moments. Through silence and suffering, Catherine revealed a strength that never needed to be declared. But what gives Catherine's quiet strength more weight than any crown? Stay glued to your screen to find out. A purpose beyond the palace. And while Catherine's personal battle captured the world's compassion, the quiet strength she showed was already deeply rooted in a lifetime of meaningful service, one that speaks louder through action than applause. Long before she became the Princess of Wales, Catherine was already planting the seeds of a legacy that stretched far beyond palace walls. In 2007, she partnered with UNICEF, using photography to spotlight the struggles of vulnerable children, and the following year, she helped raise £100,000 for Oxford Children's Hospital with a spirited roller disco fundraiser. These were not the polished acts of a royal yet to come, but genuine efforts from someone who already felt a calling to uplift others, especially the young and the voiceless. When she married Prince William in 2011, her platform expanded, and so did her mission. Their wedding became more than a royal celebration. It became a source of hope. Instead of lavish gifts, they invited donations to 26 different charities, allowing their union to spark change for causes close to their hearts. Together, they founded the Royal Foundation, a vehicle through which their shared values found expression in areas like conservation, military families, and mental health. But Catherine's influence has always been most profound where she's most personally involved. She doesn't just show up for photo opportunities, she stays, listens, remembers. Her approach has reshaped public expectations of royalty in the 21st century, creating a new kind of connection between crown and community. She visits the same charities over time, checking in not as a guest, but as a partner in progress. Among her deepest commitments is mental health. In 2016, alongside William and Prince Harry, she launched the Heads Together campaign, aiming to dismantle the stigma surrounding mental illness. It wasn't just a message, it became a movement. Later, she championed mentally healthy schools, a groundbreaking initiative to equip teachers with tools to support the emotional well-being of their students. Through her work, Catherine has built bridges between institutions and real families, making sure support systems extend where they're needed most. Equally close to her heart is the cause of early childhood development. In 2021, she launched the Royal Foundation Center for Early Childhood, emphasizing how crucial the first 5 years are in shaping a child's future. Backed by science and community voices, the center anchors her Shaping Us campaign, which began in 2023. This effort reaches deep into society's fabric, challenging adults to rethink how they nurture the next generation. When Catherine speaks about childhood, it's with the conviction of a mother, the curiosity of a student, and the resolve of a leader. Her advocacy also extends to children facing unimaginable challenges. Since 2012, she has served as patron for East Anglia's children's hospices, marking Children's Hospice Week with heartfelt visits that bring not just attention, but real comfort. Her 5 Big Questions survey, launched in 2020, drew over 500,000 responses and painted a clearer picture of how early experiences affect lifelong outcomes, proving once again that her work is as strategic as it is sincere. Beyond her focus on children and mental health, Catherine's service embraces a wide spectrum of society. She became patron of the Royal Air Force Air Cadets in 2015, a role she carries with visible pride. Her connection to sports led to the co-founding of Coach Corps, which trains young people for careers in coaching, blending fitness with purpose. Her love for the arts is seen in her long-standing support for the National Portrait Gallery, where creativity and community intersect. During the COVID-19 crisis, Catherine and William launched the Our Frontline initiative to support emergency workers. And when international tragedies struck, whether in Ukraine or Turkey, she lent her voice and energy to global relief efforts. Through every chapter of her royal life, Catherine has quietly built something enduring, not a kingdom of pageantry, but a legacy of care. And what do you believe truly drives Catherine to shape such a powerful legacy in silence? Duty, compassion, or something deeper? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.